Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Michele Jutrisa and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up here in New South Wales, Australia. Excuse me. Thank you very much for joining me today. Hello, Joe. Great to see you on here. Please jump on and say hello and let us know where you're from, because it's always great having new people on here, and plus all the other regulars that come on each Friday. It's great having you here. Okay, so I'm going to flip this camera down a little bit so you can see what is on my desk. Just let me clear that off a little bit. There we go. It doesn't look so messy now. And let's pop this up. Okay, so what we're going to be playing with today is the Extraordinary Flora stamp set and the coordinating dies that go with it. Now, this is a photopolymer stamp set. Let me just grab it here. It's a big stamp. As you can see, it is on a full block there. It's an outline stamp. Now, this does come with a washi tape, but unfortunately, at the moment, the washi tape is unavailable. It's supposed to be back in on the 21st of July, I think, so only next week. Every time I've gone to order it, it's been out of stock, so I am going to be jumping on the 21st of July and placing my order. But I thought today, why wait for the washi tape? Because we can colour this stamp set in as well. Now, the beauty of this stamp set, because it is so large, it does come with a single die that cuts out the whole lot in one piece. So you can stamp and cut the whole lot. Now, I know before this came out, there was some questions about whether the die, how you would cut the washi tape. From what I've seen so far, you really do need to put the washi tape onto something solid in the background. So it's either another piece of cardstock or a piece of window sheet. But when you do die cut it, it will be cutting through the whole lot. I think I haven't used it as yet, so I'm just going through what I have been told and what I imagine might happen, that if I put my washi tape onto my die cutting, my plates, especially if they're like mine, which has got like little black pieces and everything in, the washi tape could tend to pick all those little bits and pieces up. So unless you've got a really nice clean plate, I wouldn't be putting my washi tape onto here. So, that's an experiment, and as soon as I get it, I will be trying it all out and seeing what we come up with. But in the meantime, there are other ways we can use this. So what I am going to do today is I'm going to create my own pieces and not wait for the washi tape. I'm going to stamp this onto a piece of cardstock. We're going to colour it with some watercolour pencils and then die cut it all out. Now, another thing that I'm starting to introduce as well are my templates. So what I've got here, this is my basic card layout. I use this on probably 80%, if not more, of my cards. So all I've really got is a card base. Now I've just got that represented here in a piece of basic black cardstock. Then I have a mat and I have a card front. I like to mat my pieces. Now, the reason for that is it will tend to make things pop a little bit more. You can pick up colours if you want to highlight a colour in your mat that's in your design. There's lots of really good reasons for it. It's just personal preference, and this is my personal preference. So what I'm going to be doing today is using this as my idea for my card, but I'm going to be adding, let me see if I can find the dies here. I'm going to be adding one of the everyday arches. So I've got an arch here and we're going to be cutting that out in a piece of cardstock, and I'm going to pop that on the front. By having something like this already designed for me, like sort of as an idea template, I can now pop on there any shape I want and get an idea of what I'm going to be planning. So I have made up other ones. I'm just going to grab another one I've got here so you can see what I mean. This one here, I haven't done a mat on it, but I've put a circle on there from the Stylish Shapes and somewhere where I'm going to pop a sentiment. So it just gives me an idea of how I'm going to layer my cards up. And I'm hoping to be able to try to use some of these on my lives so you can also see what I'm doing. I've also, on the back of one of these, I've popped all my measurements. So there's the measurements. So I've got measurements there for my card base, which is in a 10 fold. I've got measurements there for my book fold, my card mat, and my card front. So it means that I can pick this up at any time and replicate it. Even though that is quite simple, as I said, I can sort of plan what I'm going to put there, whether I'm going to put an arch or whether I'm going to put a square or whatever on there. And then you can just change up your colours, your card base and whatever colour you want to use, your mat and whatever colour you want to use, or your card front. But anyway, I'm going to give this a go over the next few weeks and see how these templates help me and hopefully help you to expand a library of ideas for cards as well. So I'm going to pop that to one side. Actually, I'm going to pop it up here. So I've got my measurements there. And I've already decided I'm doing a 10-fold card because that is my favourite style of card because it is easy for me to photograph. So I've already cut my card base. And I've cut that at the 10.5 by 29.9 and I've scored it at 14.9. So let me just fold that in half and grab my bone folder. Give that a really nice sharp fold on there. So there's our card base, which would be the black on this, okay? So just remember, if you're making these cards with my measurements and you're in America, then I've got the imperial measurements on there as well. And I will put all these measurements and everything onto my blog. But this just helps me as a reference to come back to it each time. Okay, so then what I've decided, because with my card, I have got a mat on there. And I'm going to do something, I'm going to go white on white on white. So I have got my card mat here and I have cut that at 10 by 14.4. So I don't like taking these increments down as an equal increment each time. Myself personally, I like to have a 0.5 centimetre increment and then a 3 millimetre increment to the next size. So my card front is 3 millimetres smaller than my card mat, and that's going to go on top of there. Now, to get a little bit of texture on here, a little bit of difference, we are going to emboss our card front. So let me grab my cut and emboss machine. I'm going to need my large one for this. And I have decided that I'm going to use for my embossed card front the damask design, because this is going to be a floral, because we are using that floral stamp. So let me grab this out. Hello, Lily. How are you? Hello, Lorraine. Good to see you here. Now, just remember, depending on whether your embossing folder is a 3D embossing folder or not, this can stretch your cardstock a little bit. So you probably will need to, because I'm only using a 3 millimetre increment between my sizes, I may need to just double check my measurements before I adhere this to the front of my card, just to make sure I've still got that 14.1. Now, I've just almost forgot, I was popping my cardstock in there. I'm doing a portrait style card, and then I realized, oh, hang on a second, my embossing folder, the design of it could go either way. Now, I like, with this particular embossing folder, to have my cardstock going in the folder like this one. And this is actually quite a wide folder, so I am able to turn it around, position it where I want it to go, and fold it down. And that's so because these shapes here are slightly more oval. And I want that oval to go up and down, not across. So let me just grab my other pieces here. Hello, Roseanne. How are you? And Felicity, great to have you on here. Yes, white on white is very crisp. I love it. Now, this is not a 3D embossing folder. It's only a light embossing folder. So I'm just going to try it with the regular plates. I may need to take out plate number 2. I think that might make it too thick. I'm just trying to remember. Make sure that's all in there nicely. Let's see how we go going through. Yep, that's going through nicely. So what I've used is plate 1 and then 2 plate 3s for that embossing folder because it is a thinner embossing folder. So let's pop that to one side. I probably will be needing that again in a little while. So we'll just pop those over there to one side and let's grab this out. And it must have moved a little bit, but not much that I'm going to be worried about it. Okay, so there's my card front. I want to check my measurements to make sure that my cardstock hasn't stretched too much. So it's 9.7. That's pretty good by 14.1. And it's probably just very, very slight. So I'm just going to just take a smidgen. Look, it really didn't even slice anything off. It just scooted along the bottom. So that's pretty good. I know that ones like the corrugated one will stretch your cardstock quite a bit. So let's bring in our card pieces again. And I've just realised I need one more piece to go on the inside, but that's okay. We can deal with that one later. So I'm going to adhere these two together. And giving the texture on the card front is just going to add that little bit of difference. And even though the colour's all the same, it gives it that highlight. So it gives you shades of light and dark with the texture. So I'm just going to pop that onto my mat. Just remembering I've only got about 1.5 mil all the way around because I've allowed 3 millimeters difference in size. And I'm not going to adhere that to my card front yet, just in case I decide to add some twine or something on there. So far what I've created is basically that. Now I do want to pop a piece in the inside. Now let me just have a quick look here. I need some more basic white cardstock here. I like to cut my cardstock into quarter sheets because then that makes it easier for me to trim down. So I'm going to add this one here is going to be for, whoops, I think I might have to, a bit of damage there to my cardstock, so I'm going to turn it over and use this side. Okay, so we're going to cut this piece. I'm going to do that double layering again, so I'm going to do 14.4 by 10. So I'm creating my mat again, and I have got a piece here for my piece that I want to write on, which is going to be 9.7. So I'm using basically the same measurements that we used for the front for my insert by 14.1. But I want to pop a little bit of texture on that piece there. So I've got an idea. We're going to give this a go and see how this works. So I've got my cut and emboss here. I've got my plates to go on. And I have got my insert piece, which is the piece I'm going to write on. But what I want to do is just emboss the bottom half. Now that if I do that from there, that's going to emboss the top half. I want to emboss the bottom half. So I want to go that side because the top and the bottom of this is a little bit different. And I'm just guesstimating there that I've got around about 3 centimetres. And I'm going to pop this all in here, making sure I don't move anything. And normally I like to put my fold in first, but with this one here, I'm not doing that. And I'm just going to do a partial emboss. So I'm just going to pop my plate on top of that and push all that through. And hopefully, we've all got our fingers crossed, this will work. So I'm just going to go in. I'm not going all the way to the end of the embossing folder. I'm only going portion of the way in because I don't want to create a ridge. And let's take that out. Let's see if this is going to work. Hopefully it will. Oh, it didn't work. Okay, I'm going to have to pop that in a little bit further. So let's see if I can line this up. And I'm going to take it in a little bit further in. So I'm lining up my embossing that I had done there previously. I only really want to emboss that much of it. I had it a little bit too close. Okay, let's give this a second go. Grab those plates again. Pop that down. Whoops, I managed to knock it out of alignment. Let me see if I can line this up yet again. So let me just see. I'm just lining up. Just wondering whether I've got this the right way. No, I had it the right way. Okay. I'm just going to line that up there. Pop that over. This time, try not to knock it out of place. Pop my plate back on top. This is either going to make a real big mess or it is going to work. I hope everyone has got their fingers crossed because I can't cross anything. Let's go. We only want to take it up a little bit and then back through. Let's see if we've taken it up enough on that pass. Perfect. So there we go. I've just got a little bit of embossing there on the bottom, which is what I wanted to do. So I just wanted to partially emboss. And here it hasn't got a ridge along there. It's just tapering out a little bit. So really that's the effect that I wanted to get. So that's good. So I'm going to adhere that now onto my mat. You know what? I don't think I've ever done that before. I've done partial die cutting, but I don't think I've ever done a partial emboss. So that's pretty cool that I've done that. Been doing this for years and it's probably first time I've done that, and I'm really pleased with the way that turned out. And while we've got our glue, let's grab our, so there's our mat. And we want to place this one on the inside of our card. Now, cards like this, which are white on white, you can make these into lovely cards. You can be wedding cards, engagement cards, or even really nice, sweet birthday cards. There's just something about white on white, which is just can be stunning. Okay. So there's the inside of our card, all in. And there's the piece which we are eventually going to pop onto the mat. Now I have already die cut my arch. So there's my die, my piece. So that is the piece which I'm going to sit onto there. So I've done that already just to make things a little bit quicker for us. Now we're going to do some stamping. So let me pop all that out of the road for the moment. I'm going to grab, I managed to get some black ink on that, but that's okay. I can use that side. I have got my stamp here, and I've already primed that, and I've done that by rubbing my fingers over it. So I'm getting a little bit of body oil onto it, and just give it a good rub. That just helps remove the surface off a new stamp, because there is a little bit of a residue left. And I have got a foam mat underneath, and now I am just looking for my Memento ink. Now I am going to be using my watercolour pencils, but I'm not going to be using water. Excuse me. So because I'm not going to be using water, I'm actually going to be doing my blending, which is what I tend to like to do with my colour lifter from my Stampin' Up! Blends. It's much softer, and because our cardstock, it can peel if you use too much water. I find that it doesn't peel with the alcohol. So I find using the alcohol is much easier now, because I'm using the alcohol in my blender pen. I can use Memento ink, okay? Because remember, if you're using watercolor and you're using water, you need a permanent ink, which is your StazOn. If you're using your alcohol pens, you can use your Memento. So I'm using Memento for this, even though I'm using watercolor pencils, but it's only because I'm only going to be blending them with the alcohol, okay? Now, you can do this by putting it onto your block, or if you've got a positioning tool, such as our old Stamparatus or any of the others that are on the market, it may even be a good idea, just for the fact that if you don't get this dark enough, you can go back and re-ink. But what I'm doing is I'm just inking that up really well. I'm going to turn that on its side. Now, I do have to be careful because I've still got sore fingers from when I fell. And I'm just going to pop that straight down on top of that. Oh, excuse me. Give that a really good push down, because we want to make sure that the whole surface is getting contact with that paper, so we can transfer that ink onto our paper. And then voila, there we are, it's done. I'll clean that a little bit later on. And now we can colour these in. Now, I've already gone through my watercolour pencils, and I've pulled out a few that I want to play with. Now, I'm not going to show you them all on here. I have already coloured in one here, but I am going to show you some of the things that I have done on here. So let me just bring that up so you can see that a little bit clearly. I still haven't gone over that yet with my blender pen, and if you wanted to, you could leave it just like it is. You don't need to go over with anything else but that. So I thought I'd just quickly show you by colouring in just bits and pieces of some of the colours that I've used. So I've used here garden green, and I've got granny apple green. So what I'm going to do with this particular leaf is I'm colouring in a portion of the leaf starting from the bottom, heading up towards the tip in the garden green. And then I'm going to come back in with my granny apple green and colour from the tip going back into that leaf. Now, it's a lot easier to work on with your watercolour pencils if you've got a sharp tip on there. So just remember to sharpen your pencils. Try not to drop them, because every time you drop them, you can break the leads on the inside. I really like these watercolour pencils. I think they blend together really well. So that's how I've coloured that one in. Some of the other leaves I've used Old Olive because I wanted a bit of variety in colour, and I believe the washi tape also gives you that variety in colour. So some of these ones here, like this one here, actually I'll do this one. I've just coloured in the whole leaf, all in Old Olive. And I've just coloured that in quite softly. And then I've come back in and I've pressed down a little bit harder at the bottoms, the tip where it joins the stem, just to give some colour. Now, what you can imagine, the way I'm colouring this in is basically like that. So I'm colouring on that side, and then in the middle, okay? Because when you put your blender pen, or even if you are doing this on watercolour paper, the water will pick that up and help spread that colour out. So I'm only just doing just a little bit like that. So that's what I did for that flower there. I did the same with these ones here, coloured it in lightly, and then came back in with a bit more pressure. With this leaf here, I coloured these in again in the Old Olive. I added a little bit of garden green down at the base. And don't be worried or afraid to add a little bit of red, or the other colour that I picked up and used was pecan pie, and adding a little bit of pecan pie into that leaf as well, because leaves have got sometimes a bit of, not just in autumn, but they can have a little bit of red or a little bit of brown in it. So you can add that little bit of colour by doing that. So that's what I did on those leaves. Trying to work out so I can show you. Some leaves I've just left in this one here. I have just done in the garden green, but again, just sort of colouring it in a little bit. I didn't necessarily take the colour all the way to the ends, because sometimes I like to have a little bit of white in there. I think this one here again was the same as this one up here. I went over it in the Old Olive. I was about to do the wrong colour. You can blend your colours together too. So that's actually quite a nice blend. So you could do that one. I've got my garden green, and then I've gone over the top of it a little bit with my Old Olive. So just playing around with all your pencils, just adding all those colours. And then with the flowers, what I have done with that one there, this big one here, I think I did that in Cherry Cobbler and Flirty Flamingo. So basically what I've done is I've gone all around that flower, just colouring in a slight circular motion in Flirty Flamingo, and then come in with all those lines in the Cherry Cobbler. So that just makes that one really easy to follow. All my centres of my flowers I have done in Daffodil Delight. The petals on this one here I just did in my Granny Apple Green, because to me that's like a daisy. I wanted a nice bright colour there. But I also just added a little bit of blue, and all I've done is just added a little line, okay, on those ones. This one here, I just coloured in Calypso Coral, and again, just adding the colour lightly, then coming back in and adding some depth by pushing down a little bit heavier. This flower here, I've also done in, trying to remember now, I did this one in a Fresh Freesia. Actually, no, I didn't do that in the Fresh Freesia. I think I must have done that in the Flirty Flamingo, sorry. So, gone around all those petals in a Flirty Flamingo, but then I came in with my Real Red, and just added some highlights around the centre. These little flowers down here, I came in with the fresh freesia. And it helps a lot when you do all the greens and all the fresh freesia and add each colour at a time. And then I came in with gorgeous grape and just added a little bit of colour there. So that's how I ended up colouring all of that. I just didn't want to go through that all with you on camera because that could take quite a little while to do. But now I'm just going to grab my blender pen and I'm going to use the bullet tip end. I'm going to start with all my greens and I'm just brushing that colour out. Not really spending too much time, just brushing those greens out and blending them together, just to take away a little bit of that harsh line. You don't need to spend a huge amount of time doing that. Just remember to wipe your tip. I'm going to go do all the same colours first. This one here is about the same colour. You can, if you wanted to, just go around a circular motion, but I'm basically taking from the bottom tip of the leaf and taking that colour outwards. So where my darkest colour is and pushing that dark colour out. Same on these ones. So I'm just pushing that dark colour. So I'm starting from the tip there, pushing that dark colour out towards the outer edge of my leaf. This one here is the same colour tones. So I'm just doing the same with that. But as I said, if you don't want to colour these in, you could just leave them. Like you colour them in, but not go over them with the blender pen, I should say, sorry. So I'm just going to go through and do all of those leaves. This one here is the same colour again. You don't want to go over this so much that you're pushing all the colour out. You want to leave some of the darker colour. And I find too, sometimes with going over it with the colour lifter, actually brightens the colour a little bit. So I'm just cleaning off a bit of scratch paper there at the side, and I'm going to come in now and do this one. This one here was coloured in the old olive, and then I came over the top and put a little bit of that garden green in there. So I'm just taking that garden green from the bottom and pushing it out up to the top. If you want them to be lighter, then you just don't put as much colour in there or as much pressure. I'm just trying to have a look. What else have I got here? This one here is the garden green again. And I think I've got the garden green with the granny apple green on that one. I've got the granny apple green on this one here. Granny apple green and garden green on that one. Same with this one. And have I coloured all of those? I think I've got this one here left to do. So I've just got to come back in, just smooth some of that colour out. Clean my nib. And I'm just going to go around here, but I just want to very lightly, I'm just going in a little bit of a circular motion here. And just very lightly pick up with that little bit of that dark colour and bring it out a little bit. But I don't want to bring it out too much. Colour lifter could be getting a little bit dry as well. So now this one here, it's starting from the centre, pulling that colour out. Now I've put the Daffodil Delight in the centre of all my flowers. I'm trying not to touch that. And I'm just blending that darker colour in the centre and just blending it out towards my tip of my flowers. Now, who else likes using their watercolour pencils? I enjoy it when I do it. I just don't do it enough, I don't think. Pull that colour out a bit more. Don't be afraid of leaving a few white spots. So this one here, where I've just got the little bit of blue, I just want to bring that out a little bit. I'm not pushing that colour too far because I want the tips to be more white. And then again with this one, just brushing out that gorgeous grape, softening those edges a little bit, and pulling that colour out into the fresh freesia. Little flowers don't take as long. Okay, all done. Oh, but there's one more to do, I think. Oh, no, I think I did. I look closely at that one. I think I've done that. So that's all coloured in. Hello, Deborah. Oh, are you enjoying the scrapbooking retreat? But there you go. There's all those flowers. So now we're going to die cut that. So let's grab a cut and emboss, and we will need plate 2. Just going to replace that. Need plate 1. And we need that one. And we need our die. Oops, all that sticky tape is stuck on there. There we go. Let me get rid of that so it doesn't stick on anything else. Now, so there's our, just bring this into view. There's our plate. Now we've got to marry this up with our dies. And I've got my tape here. So we want to layer this on top, making sure that we've married all of this up well, because it'd be a shame to go through this whole thing and find out we haven't cut this as well as what we should. So let me just spending a little bit of time making sure this is all correct. And I think I have it. So I'm going to pop a bit of tape there. A bit of tape there. Pop that over the top, and let's run this through. Oh, that's good, Deborah. Big interested to hear what you think about it. I decided not to do it, just the fact that at this particular moment in time, it's wasn't something I could participate in. So, okay, let's have a look. Hopefully all this cut out well. We'll pop all that out. Not too bad. Probably had a couple of ones that could have been positioned better, but in the long run, I don't think it's going to matter. I've got lots of lovely little cutout bits and pieces. I think because I was doing it over at an angle, I was sort of looking at it on the side, not rather than straight on. Makes a big difference. Okay. So there's our pieces there. And let's bring in our card. Now, the one thing I did decide to do is I wanted to put a sentiment on here. So I'm going to pop a sentiment on here, and I'm using one of the sentiments from the stamp set. Because this stamp set not only just comes with this die here, you've got 3 sentiments. So you've got with love, congratulations for the extraordinary couple. So it really, I mean, in some ways it is geared towards weddings or whatever, but I mean, you don't have to use these sentiments at all. It's got this one here with a line on it, which I think is quite interesting as well. And I want to have a play with that one day, but not today. So what I thought we would do, grab my foam mat. I'm going to stamp the with love, and I want that down here in that bottom corner. Beautiful, and I've just stamped that in my memento. Pop that over there to be cleaned. So that's going to go there. So this is how my card is going to be looking so far. Now, I have got my twine here, and I was thinking maybe adding some white twine on there, but we'll leave that for the moment because it may not need it. Now, you could put this in the center. Okay, let me bring in my template here. So you could pop it in the center, or you could pop it over one side to your left-hand side or to your right-hand side. Now, that's all going to depend upon where you're going to position your flowers. So I'm at the moment tending to think I want to position this more towards my right-hand side because I want my flowers to be here. I'm sort of really wanting to take advantage of that white on white, but then just with these flowers just adding that little bit extra. So now it's a matter of just choosing what flowers you want to put here and what leaves. Remembering you don't have to put them all. I want a little bit of, probably a little bit of height. I could even tuck them in underneath my arch if I wanted to. Let's have a look, see what else we've got. Now I could make it, because I've done some flowers in the pink tones. I've done some of the flowers in the more with the purple. Let's just have a little bit of a look here. We could bring a little bit of that in if we wanted to. So we've got a few different flowers. This is just a little bit of a dry fit at the moment. Let's have a look if we change out, just play around, and let's just have, because this one here's got quite nice shape in it, where it just comes around there a little bit. Not a great lover of that particular flower. I don't know whether I want it all. Just a matter of really just fiddling around and seeing. I want to have a couple of colours. I don't want just all one colour, I don't think. Okay. I don't even mind just that a little bit, rather than going up too high. I like the different tones of green in there. So let's just have a look at that. I think I will put this up onto, so let's see if I can move that across a bit. I'm going to pop this. Let's just remove that. Take that off there for the moment. Grab some dimensionals, and I'm going to pop this up onto some dimensionals because I think it just needs a little bit of height. Now, whether I add I'm just going to pop a couple of glue dots. Where's the beginning of those glue dots? There's one there. Pop one about there. One there. So I'm just popping those glue dots on the back there and then wrapping my thread around it. I do like to have 3 wraps if I can. And those glue dots are just holding that into place. So let's just grab my scissors. And then we're going to pop some dimensionals on here. So I'm going to have 2 on the bottom there. So I've got 5 on there. Let's just make sure I've got that up the right way. Where is my card? I want to make sure I've got it going the same way as I've got it in the... Yep. So I'm using my embossed image there as my line. I don't want to put that too close to the bottom because remember, when you put things too close, it can look like it's about to fall off. Now, by putting dimensionals underneath there also allows me, if I want to tuck some of these coming from underneath, I can. So I want to have that one on there. I'm going to use some mini dimensionals for this. Just popping a couple underneath there. I'm going to pop that one there. May not be the exact position I had it last time, but that's okay. Actually, I don't think it is anywhere near the position I had it last time. That's okay then, because we can play. We've got enough here to play with. Because I think I had that one. Quite like that. Or we could bring that more up like that. Just wondering whether I might be able to lift this up a little bit higher. Just very gently. I'm just going to grab another Sorry if you could hear that noise. My husband's just moving a few things around outside. Just pop another dimensional on there. So I've got one right on there. Just don't know whether I like that in that position. Oops. Let's just try that again. Might just trying to get that position somewhere. Very carefully just removing that dimensional I put there before. Really want that to sort of follow the angle of that a little bit. Okay, I'm going to pop that on with glue. And I'm going to grab another mini dimensional and pop that right on there. So that one's now glued to the arch. This one here has got dimensionals on top. So whether do I want to add that one or not, or do we have to stick with that style of leaf? It's almost a fern type leaf, isn't it? I do like that. There's that one. Oh, there's this one here, which is bigger. Might go the bigger one because I do want to put flowers, I think, underneath, but I'm just going to pop this on with glue. Tuck that in there. neatly as I can. Then we've got this flower here. Actually, don't think I want that one. Look, I'm being a bit indecisive today, aren't I? I want that one. What I do want to do, and I'll pop this on before I decide where this might go, is let's just do a little bow. So I've just, with a little piece of, oops, let's just get rid of all the twists out of this piece. Just got a little bit of baker's twine here in the white, and I just want to tie a little bow. Don't want it too big. And we're going to grab another glue dot. That on there. Trim that down. Now let's have a look, see where we can position another one of these. I think underneath there is fine. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue on there, and I'm going to tuck it in so it's peeking out just from underneath. That like that. Can shorten those tails of that ribbon in a minute. Let's just have a look at all of this. Let me just get rid of all this rubbish that I'm now getting my fingers all tied up in. And since I've already got enough dimensionals on there, we can just glue this straight down. And then I'm going to grab this little one here. Put that on there. That one on there. So we've just got a little leaf. We could, if we wanted to, add I think since we've got no blues in that, they will all be used in another card, I think. But there you go. There's my card for today. Probably could make these bows a little bit smaller if I wanted to. I think I've moved that one there a little bit. I've got a bit of glue there I didn't want, but that's okay. I think that looks good. Now, if you wanted to, because you could grab these ones here. These are the Strawberry Slush and Pretty in Pink gems, but it's also got the clear ones here with a little bit of gold in it. So I'm just thinking these small ones might just add, pop one there maybe. No, I don't like it there. One there. Want to do a triangle of some sort. Doesn't all have to be on the outside there. We can have on the inside. It can be one on the outside. And there. Okay, so just added a couple of little gems on that just to give it that nice little sparkle. It's in a bit of a funny triangle, but it is in a triangle. So there you go. So there's my card for today. I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope if you don't have the Extraordinary Flora, I hope that inspires you to maybe get hold of it. You can get that on my website at Michele, jutrisa.stampingup.net. Make me your demonstrator if you wish. If not, if you have your own demonstrator, by all means jump on and order it from them. But have a bit of fun with it. And as I said, the washi tape is out of stock at the moment, but it should be back in around about the 21st. Be quick. I'm certainly going to try to be and get it before it goes out again. So I think this is about the third time I've seen it come and go. So thank you very much for joining me. Thank you, Lynn. Didn't see you sneak in there. I hope you have a lovely weekend, and I will try to get this posted up over the weekend with all the measurements and everything. And this is just my basic template. I mean, it's just very, very basic, but you can see you can add anything you want to that. You could add circles, you could add your arches, your squares, and then go from there. But I just did this up so then you can see this is my basic layout that I use in nearly everything. And then from there, just layer it up with other things. So enjoy that and take care. Have a lovely weekend, and we'll see you next Friday. Thank you very much for being here with me. Bye for now.